Everybody, in this episode we're going to talk about the next phase of Wallscape Billboards for long-term revenue. If you hear a little bit of noise, because we got a bunch of work going in the background, but that's a good thing, so hopefully it won't be too bad. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 6 of Ask Ackland. I'm Brett Molesky, founder of Ackland Media Frames. We are the trade-only manufacturer of media frames for wallscapes and billboards and trucks and all kinds of good stuff. In this episode today, we're going to continue where we left off last week. And the title was Wallscape Billboards, how to create wallscape billboards for long-term revenue. And I'm going to get into the specifics of why it's a great business opportunity. This is really for the entrepreneur. I mean, we're going to talk not so much about the product today as the application of the product, which is a business opportunity where you entrepreneurs can get out there and create not just sales, not just income, but something long-term, not just long-term income, but long-term assets that will continue to feed you for a long time if you like this concept. So let me just give you the concept, Wallscape Billboards. Okay, that means there's a wall somewhere and we create a billboard on that wall for the lowest possible investment, which is just the least expensive way to do it. Rather than going out and getting permits and doing a construction project and going through all the permitting process to put like a monopole structure on the side of a freeway or a busy street. In our case, for the sake of this discussion, we're talking about using existing structures. They're already built. That already drops the cost down. All we want to do is affix a graphic to it long term that it has value to someone, and the reason it has value is because there's a lot of people going by. So you get frequency and you get exposure and you get cost per thousand that's very low. So that's the concept, is to put that on a wall. And you might be thinking, well, I don't have a wall. That's okay. You don't need to have a wall. You don't need to own a building. You just need to find them. So just to paint the picture of how this could work, it's about going out in the right area. And probably the first thing that would need to be done is to find a city where the ordinance is friendly to this kind of thing. And that's a little challenging, as you know, being in the sign business, but it can be done. They're out there. So you find a wall. You find a building that's in a busy area, a public area, and you go in and you make a deal with the owner of that building, and it's as easy as, hello, ma'am or sir, I know you own this building here, how'd you like some free money? That's kind of what it comes down to. You're bringing them the best tenant they ever had. You're giving them an opportunity to use their building to put advertising on that building, and you're going to give them some percentage or some flat amount of that money, and you keep the rest. Now, when you put this deal in place, you're going to do it on a long-term basis. When you find somebody that wants to play ball, then you can put together a lease that could be 50 years, 99 years, 20 years, whatever, but it's a long-term lease. And the longer, the better. And we've dabbled in this a little bit. We've worked through the legal process and got the contracts together and things to where now you've got a billboard lease effectively that is transferable, meaning the owner of that building could sell it. They could sell their part of that lease because it's worth money. Hey, a certain amount of cash flow every month for 12 months or 24 months or years, I should say. That's worth a lot of money even in today's dollars. So we'll get into the more specifics later on, but just the concept is you go find a building, and it could be indoor as well as outdoor, because there are many shopping centers and places where there are stadiums and things where a lot of people going by. The wall space is worth money, and you just want to secure that. You want to bring value to the owner and value to yourself and value to whoever advertises on that space. And really, to carry it even further, value to the people who see the ad and maybe hopefully act on it as consumers. So that's the concept, is create an ad space somewhere, and then as sales develop over time, you get paid every month from any of those billboards that are rented. What else makes it cool is the billboards will help you rent themselves, because if you don't have a client for it and you do have a lot of people, you can always do a your ad here kind of thing. I was in Nashville just yesterday, in the last couple days. We're working on a big nonprofit project, which we'll tell you about someday. But we were in Nashville and I saw a great big billboard downtown, said think big. Your ad here, with a phone number. Couldn't miss it. If I needed to get my ad in front of people in the downtown metropolitan Nashville area, I knew where I could do it. And what else was really cool, little side note, I was there for a particular project, but we pulled into Nashville, and parked our car. My wife and I walked around the corner, and on that Bridgestone Arena, which is right across from the Country Music Hall of Fame, I see 4 big old wallscapes with major sponsors' names on them facing the Strip in Nashville. They had our frames on it. I love that. I didn't know they were there, so it was just a really nice surprise. And then a couple days later, I was driving by the Tennessean, which is a big newspaper, and sure enough, there's big old wallscapes with our frames on it. So I just love that. It's just sort of a stamp of approval, kind of a God wink, you know, telling you what you're doing is working. So anyway, enough about that. Oh, I should give a shout out to Brand Imaging in the Nashville area, because I believe they're the ones that did the job on the Bridgestone Arena. And so we want to thank you for the business, and they look spectacular. I'll show you a picture maybe in this. Here's one right now. Okay. Next, we're talking about Wallscape Billboards for long-term revenue. We're talking about going out and getting a building and owning part of that building. Some of the things you want to consider in any business opportunity, one of the things is, what's my upfront cost? Well, your upfront cost is your time. The time that it takes you to look around, find the right type of city environment or place, the right wall, talk to the right people. You're gonna have some elbow grease, some leg work. So you're gonna have some time. That's your risk. Financially, almost none, because you don't have to go invest or take out loans in order to do this. You just have to do the work. Just roll up your sleeves and do the work and go find the space. And then once you find the space, talk to the people. And who's gonna wanna turn down free money? It's almost like truck drivers. And by the way, we're not talking about that today, but trucks are the same way. There are truck drivers out there and fleets of trucks that would love to have some extra income to help pay for the fuel and insurance expenses and everything else just by advertising the space on the side of those trucks. But that's for a later episode. Back to this one. Very low upfront costs. That's one reason you should consider it, because if you found a place and wanted to get something going on a whole bunch of walls, you could do it for very, very little. Okay, next thing that you want to look at, and when you think about business opportunities, what kind of a return can I get? You can get a massive return. Percentage-wise, it's off the chain, off the hook, off the charts, whatever expression you use, it's off of it. Because I'll give you an example of something that a partner and I have found out at a mall recently. They have a few, when we first got to them, they had a few displays up. A banner was one of them, a giant banner, 8 by 14, hanging from the ceiling. Not even a wallscape, just a banner. And that banner was bringing in almost $5,800 every month. It was a jeweler on a banner in a mall. The banner itself probably cost $500. The monthly revenue from that banner, 10 times. Everybody's talking about 10x. 10x. Only it's 10x every month, which is 100x plus by the end of the year. Major money. I thought, they cannot be getting that much money for ad space in a mall, a nice mall. So we looked at some other kiosks and things that they had, and they had some display areas, not very many, maybe a half a dozen, that they were receiving revenue from sponsors, and we've calculated consistently on every one of those displays, they were receiving about $20 a month per square foot of space in revenue from those little displays. So that would mean like a 4 by 5 display, 4 by 5 feet, okay, 20 square feet, $400 a month. far more per month in ad revenue than the cost of the ad in the first place. And these could be on vending machines, on kiosks, on walls. We recommend walls for a couple of obvious reasons, but probably the main one is it's more permanent. All those other things, they can be semi-temporary, you know, they come and go. Can't get a real long-term lease agreement on something that comes and goes, but walls are there to stay, so we recommend walls. So the return that you're gonna get is incredible. You're gonna get $20 a square foot on every one of them? I can't say that, but what if it was $5 a square foot every single month? It's a one-time production fee, which the client pays, by the way, and then it's every single month billing, as long as you got the space sold. And when you do sell the space, you don't sell it for a week or a month, you sell it for a year or 6 months or at least a quarter. And that way, you know, your cost of sales is kept down to a reasonable rate, and they get to be known. So what we did is we took them a proposal and we said, well, here, we can find around this mall and the buildings associated with it and the parking structures associated with it, there's easily 40 or 50 places where you could do a display. And that might sound like they're going to be everywhere, but malls are big and shopping centers have a lot of different spaces to put visual displays. We showed them how they could bring an extra $1 million a year into that mall just from selling ad space. Now, that hasn't been executed yet. It's in dialogue. Different people have taken over ownership and stuff like that, but that's not my point. My point is you can make a deal with an outfit like that where either they pay you just for the signage, which we don't recommend that. Better yet, you insert or install the graphics spaces in all the right areas and just work out a revenue split. And maybe it's a split that is whoever sells it. In the case I'm talking about, the mall sold a lot of their space, but they were more than happy to have help selling it. So you just work out a split and a commission, and whoever sold the job gets X amount, and whoever didn't gets Y. And it's a nice arrangement. It's not being done very much outside of, you know, billboard companies, and they are they've been doing it since the dawn of time. Drive-by advertising, walk-by advertising, it works because people passing by, B-U-Y, people passing by, and they know it, and it's a captive audience. And so at the mall now, we did end up installing a few other wallscapes. They've got a bunch of 3x20s and a couple of other sizes, consistent with that $20 per square foot. Great cash flow. Their profitability goes up. And if you're talking about an owner of an independent building, their value of their building will go up because of that lease. They're getting more cash flow from that building than they would have gotten without it. So their property value goes up. As I mentioned before, it's transferable, meaning they could sell it, or they could sell the building and keep the lease. That's a great benefit too. So there's a lot of ways you can go with this. This is a solid business opportunity. That's what I want to get across to you. And I want these episodes to be short and sweet, and I'm going to wrap this one up, but on the next one I'm going to talk to you about the competition, you know, the competitive analysis. Before you get into a business opportunity, you want to look at, well, how competitive is it? And how profitable is it, and the long-term potential. I've got a lot more to share with you. This can change your life. I've known people who have retired off of a dozen billboard faces and retired well. So there's something here. I hope that you're interested, and I hope to see you on the next one.